Okay, so this is your buddy Carl for the daily reading for May 31st, part 2. And sorry for the little break up there. The laptop's been used in a bunch of stuff. All the equipment at the church we use for multiple things, so I didn't have this laptop plugged in, and you don't care about all that, but that's what happened. So I got a power warning, and it wasn't plugged in, and the power stuff for this is up in the video booth at the well. So here I am sitting in the video booth doing part 2 of the May 31st Bible reading. Go back and see part 1 for May 31st, and I will post it as such. I did spend about 10 minutes just kind of like, unpacking some things that have happened just in the last day. Pentecost Sunday was May 31st. I believe the Lord's on the move even in a bigger way. And we will see how that unfolds in our days. But stay in faith, stay encouraged, and check that out first if you missed it. But I'm going to dive right back in. May 31st, we finished on part 1. I was sharing, some encouragement about what's happening. And then we read from 2 Samuel chapter 17. And Absalom and all of Israel's army coming after King David. So we'll see tomorrow how that ends out. Or continues. But to continue on in the reading, today's psalm is Psalm 119, picking it up at verse 129. And remember, they were all of these little sonnets in Psalm 119 are from the Hebrew alphabet. All the characters are the letters of the alphabet, which are actually characters, have like a little piece of a psalm or a sonnet or that they unpack from the meaning of that letter, which I'd like to check that out more actually too. But let's pick it up. Psalm 119, verse 129, and it's the pay. Okay, your laws are wonderful. No wonder I obey them. The teaching of your word gives light. So even the simple can understand. Pause. I got to pause. You don't have to be a Bible scholar to understand the call of the Lord, the ways of God, the commandments, especially in New Covenant theology, the work of Jesus Christ and what it's made available to all of mankind. So even the simple can understand. That's what it says. Verse 131, I pant with expectation, longing for your commands. Come and show me your mercy, as you do for all who love your name. Guide my steps by your word, so I will not be overcome by evil. Ransom me from the oppression of evil people. Then I can obey your commandments. Look upon me with love. Teach me your decrees. Rivers of tears gush from my eyes because people disobey your instructions. Verse 137 starts the Tsadeh, or Tsadhe, Tsadeh. Okay, and my Hebrew is not well trained, so I may have gotten that wrong. You can always go to, this is interesting, you can research, type in how to say the word pay in Hebrew, and there's a lot of references. Even when I've done that, scholars will disagree on pronunciations, so I don't think we fail to at least try to speak these words, but learning other languages is awesome. Here we go, the Tsadeh, 137. O Lord, you are righteous, and your regulations are fair. Your laws are perfect and completely trustworthy. Yes, they are. I am overwhelmed with indignation, for my enemies have disregarded your words. Your promises have been thoroughly tested. That is why I love them so much. I am insignificant and despised, but I don't forget your commandments. Your justice is eternal, and your instructions are perfectly true. As pressure and stress bear down on me, I find joy in your commands. Wow, folks, put 5 stars. I put 4 stars right there. Verse 143, as pressure and stress bear down on me, I find joy in your commands. In other words, the word of the Lord, not just commandments, but finding joy in the ways of God. That's where joy and peace is found. The joy of the Lord is our strength. Yes, Lord. Your laws are always right. Help me to understand them so I may live. Yes, Lord, help us to understand your ways so that we may live. And that's it for today. That's up to 152. So today's proverb for May 31st, today's proverb reading is 16 verses 12 and 13. A king detests wrongdoing. Yes, Lord. For his rule is built on justice. The king is pleased with words from righteous lips. He loves those who speak honestly. Wow. All leaders would definitely respect honest counsel, righteous talk, as it should be. Wow. And there's more instructions there for the king, and for leaders, but I will move on from there. Today's reading, New Testament reading, is John chapter 19. Yes, John 19. We're picking it up at 23, and then we'll finish out the chapter 19. Here we go. Yeah, so Jesus is being led away to be crucified. Yeah, and he's gone through Pilate now, so let's pick it up at 23. He's with the soldiers being tortured. John 19, verse 23, when the soldiers had crucified Jesus, now they're already crucifying him. Here you go. They divided his clothes among the four of them. I'm going to back up because I remember when I did the previous reading, I didn't want to get into the crucifixion. What we saw here previously in John 19 where we were, Pilate really wanted to let him go. Remember that? I wish we knew more about Pilate's faith challenge there. I wondered if he actually came to faith. Well, things we don't know. So Pilate turns Jesus over to be crucified there in verse 16. So they took Jesus away, carrying the cross by himself, and he went to the place called the place of the skull, in Hebrew Golgotha, or Golgotha. There they nailed him to the cross. Two others were crucified with him, one on either side, with Jesus between them. And Pilate posted a sign on the cross that read, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. The place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign that was written was in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, so that many people could read it. Then the leading priest objected and said to Pilate, change it from the King of the Jews to, he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate replied, no, what I have written, I have written. Now, folks, that right there that was a God thing, whether Pilate knew it or not. It is written, it is written. That's almost like declarative from the Spirit of God. And Pilate had to pronounce it as such at the frustration of the Jewish leaders, right? Because it really was who Jesus was. He is the King of Kings. He was the King of the Jews and all people. Wow, powerful. When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they divided his clothes among the four of them. They also took his robe, but it was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. So they said, rather than tearing it apart, let's throw dice for it. This fulfilled the scriptures that says, they divided my garments among themselves and threw dice for my clothing. So that is what they did. Standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple that he loved, he said to her, dear woman, here is your son. And he said to his disciple, here is your mother. And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. Now we know that this was John, as we often hear the phrase, John the Beloved. It was his best friend in the whole council of the disciples. So, yeah, that's who he was. John was the closest guy to him, even though Peter had become the leader. In terms of somebody I think Jesus felt closest to by his temperament and by maybe John's ability to grasp what Jesus was teaching and to represent him well. Plus, Jesus knew who had to take care of Mary once he had passed, because Joseph had already passed away much earlier. I won't go into that history. Let's move on. So Mary is taken care of by John. Jesus knew that his mission was now finished, and to fulfill Scripture, he said, I am thirsty. A jar of sour wine was sitting there, so they soaked a sponge in it, put it on a hyssop branch, and held it up to his lips. When Jesus had tasted it, he said, It is finished. Then he bowed his head and released his spirit. It was the day of preparation, and the Jewish leaders didn't want the bodies hanging there the next day, which was the Sabbath, a very special Sabbath, because it was the Passover. So they asked Pilate to hasten their deaths by ordering that their legs be broken. Then their bodies could be taken down. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the two men crucified with Jesus. But when they came to Jesus, they saw that he was already dead. So they didn't break his legs. One of the soldiers, however, pierced his side with a spear. Oh, imagine that. Immediately, blood and water flowed out. This report is from an eyewitness giving an accurate account. He speaks the truth, so you can also believe. I won't go into the details. That was a side note. It's in parentheses that somebody added that at verse 35. But John gathered this information, and so he may have wanted to emphasize the event. These things happened in fulfillment of the scriptures that say, not one of his bones will be broken, and they will look on the one they pierced. Man, so many fulfillments of prophecy right there, folks. Afterward, Joseph of Arimathea, who had been a secret disciple of Jesus because he feared the Jewish leaders, asked Pilate for permission to take down Jesus' body. When Pilate gave permission, Joseph came and took the body away. With him came Nicodemus, the man who had come to Jesus at night. He brought about 75 pounds of perfumed ointment made from myrrh and aloes. Following Jewish burial custom, they wrapped Jesus' body with the spices in long sheets of linen cloth. The place of crucifixion was near a garden, where there was a new tomb never used before. And so, because it was the day of preparation for the Jewish Passover, and since the tomb was close at hand, they said they laid Jesus there. There you go. So much to unpack the details of that. Nicodemus helping them, being a hidden believer. Joseph of Arimathea, the same thing. So there were leaders in the Jewish ranks that believed in Jesus, but the overwhelming pressure from the other leaders forced them to hide. Now, could they have been outspoken? Yeah, that would have changed maybe something, but anyway, this is the way the history plays out. So there you go. For the sake of the reading, that is the end of John 19 for May the 31st. Okay, bless you all. We will pick up June 1st somewhere. I'm not sure if it'll come later today or tomorrow, June 2nd. We will catch up, but there's a lot unfolding in our days. Bless you on this June 1st. Stay engaged as you can. Always stay in prayer. And be encouraged. Even a mustard seed of faith brings change. And the prayers of the righteous do avail much. In other words, they have power. Don't be discouraged in our day when people kind of, out of their frustration and pain, they'll say, quit. We don't need more prayers. We need action. We need action. But we need prayer for the wisdom of God and the Spirit of the Lord and discernment to always overshadow every decision that's being poured out in our days. Anyway, bless you. We'll see you for the next reading soon. Bye-bye.